Hi, Mr. Gus G. Welcome to Italy and welcome to Linea Rock.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to have you here in our country, and you're here this time for something special, a clinic tour,
Yes.
which starts today, if I'm correct,
Yes.
and will take you across Europe, Sweden, Greece, and then you go to Japan.
Japan.
So it's going to be a long ride. You do want to tell us more about it?
Yeah, well, I actually, I should start by saying it's also always a pleasure for me to come to Italy. It's the first time that I'm doing guitar clinics in Italy because I've played a bunch of times, concerts here, both with Ozzy and Firewind, but yeah, first time I'm going to be doing these things here. I just had I decided to actually this clinic tour here in Italy, it inspired ideas for people I work with to do more clinics, and usually I don't do a lot of clinics. Maybe I'll do like 3 or 4 every year, and then I got a call from Japan to do a tour there, and then Sweden, and then of course everybody back home in Greece, they were like, why aren't you doing some here as well? What's wrong with that? I'm like, okay, then I'll do a couple in Greece, and actually after I'm done with that, I'm going to Australia with Firewind. We're doing 4 shows. We're going to Australia for the first time. And when that tour ends, the guys go home, and I fly to Japan to do the clinic tour. Okay. And then that's it for this year, more or less.
Okay, but how are these events? I mean, is the classical clinic, or is there something special you have in your mind?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't really know or haven't watched what other people are doing with other guitar players, but the way that I do it is I usually play a bunch of songs from my back catalog, because I know kids want to see that, and guitar fans want to see some of those songs. And then later, I try to do like a little bit of a Q&A thing. Like I take questions from the crowd. Like instead of analyzing stuff that I think is important or cool, maybe it's boring for somebody. So I encourage the crowd to ask me questions, and we can discuss for actually anything. It could be music business related. It could be about guitar techniques, about songs. It could be about the band. It could be about whatever, So that's how I kind of like do it, and then of course at the end I meet everybody, and we take photos, whatever, shake hands.
And you play, of course.
Oh, yes, I play quite a few songs during my set. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So you pick the songs actually, or you let the fans choose them?
I pick the songs. Yeah.
Okay.
I show up with like my backing tracks, and I play along to that, and then in between the songs I kind of like get a little discussion going on. With the fans.
Do you expect more or less mostly rock fans? Musicians.
There's a little bit of everything in the clinics that I do. There's a lot of Firewind fans, for example, that are not necessarily musicians. There are obviously many guitar players. There are, I've seen younger kids with their dads showing up. There's all kinds of people, which is kind of cool. I like that, and it's a good opportunity for me to kind of like get closer to the people that come to the shows and meet them and chat to them a little bit, Yeah.
I'm sure that, this is a question that you got asked quite quite often.
Yeah.
But what age did you start playing guitar? Do you remember exactly the moment when you were fascinated by the instrument and by the rock world?
Yes, I remember that. Actually, I started playing when I was 10, but what happened was when I was 9, I heard the record Frampton Comes Alive by Peter Frampton, a legendary 70s guitar player. I'm sure you know him.
Yeah, sure.
So, because my father had the vinyl at home, and he didn't play much rock and roll at home, many rock records, but that was one of the records he had. He had like an Eagles record, Hotel California, and then he had that. And when I heard Peter Frampton do the talk box effect, like making the guitar talk, I was 9 years old, and I thought it sounded like a robot talking, and that fascinated me. I was like, that's what I want to do. And I went up to my dad and I said, yeah, I want you to buy me a guitar. I would love to start,
Do you feel like we do was the song, and
that
also
was the
Show
one.
Me the Way?
Yes, yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That song, Do You Feel Like We Do?
That song, yeah. So that was the moment.
That was like the defining moment where I kind of like, that's what I want to be a guitar player. And then obviously, when I was 10, 11 years old, and I was watching on TV some of the rock videos at the time, like Guns N' Roses had come out with Use Your Illusion, and Metallica was on TV a lot. They had like the big hit records, and Alice Cooper, and I loved all that, and then and I got into classic rock as well. And I have to give credit to my father as well. He was very supportive, and he also taught me some very important songs, for example, for me that kind of like helped me. I don't know. It really enhanced my interest to music. Like he taught me about Pink Floyd and the Beatles and Santana and stuff like that. You know, and that all that was like a very important musical education for me in my early years. You know.
Yeah. So that's quite interesting that you said that you were impressed by the guitar that talked.
Yeah.
So that was basically your attitude from the beginning. You wanted to make the guitar talk. I mean, something different and.
I thought it was a cool effect that I had never heard. I mean, I heard other people do it later on, but nobody does it like Peter Frampton does it. So, and I tried to get a talk box later on as well, and but I mean, you know, it's not the same. I mean, of course, you know, playing soloing on guitar or playing music in general is just an expression. It's kind of like also like talking. But I thought, you know, when I was 9 years old, I thought that was cool. I was like, wow, is it a robot?
Yeah.
And my dad was like, no, that's a guitar, son. I was like, wow, you know.
Yeah.
I actually tried to do something like that, similar on Ozzy's record, Scream. There's a song called Soul Sucker. And the main riff is actually a talk box effect saying Soul Sucker, which is kind of funny, yeah.
How long do you practice every day, and do you think that's the main important thing, or you need something else to become the best?
Well, it's a combination of things. Of course, you still need to practice all the time. I mean, I love practicing. I don't do it because I have to. I mean, I love practicing. I love playing guitar, and I love to come up with new things on guitar and getting better on the things that I already know. So it never really ends. You know, it's just a journey that never ends. You always learn. You always get better. I mean, I don't know. Anybody who thinks that they've learned enough and they've just stopped, to me, there's just like, you know, you put a stop into things of developing as a person as well. So, yeah, you always gotta try and come up with new things, and there's always a new song to write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many guitars do you own, and do you have your favorite one?
I think I must have about 40 guitars. I don't have them all here. I mean, I have most of them in Greece, and then I have some of them in Los Angeles as well. But yeah, I mean, what was the other part of the question? How many guitars and
which
my
is the
favorites?
favorite?
Yeah, I have 2 or 3 favorites, I have to say, that I always take with me on tour, and I record with them. And they just, for some special reason, they just sound better, or they feel better. The neck feels better, whatever. So I think everybody has their favorite or a couple of favorites. Yeah.
Okay, which are the favorites?
Well, I mainly play my own models that I have designed with ESP guitars.
Sure.
And I have different guitars, like different variations of my signature models. But there's just a couple of them that were built in the Japanese custom shop factory that they're just phenomenal. They're just amazing guitars. They sound great live. They sound great in the studio. They're just, I don't know. I mean, there's one guitar that they just built me this year, actually. I got it earlier in this January, and I've been playing it the whole year. It's a new guitar that I've had this year, and yeah, I brought it out here with me on the clinic tour as well.
About your gear, your choice changes from live to studio, or you basically have a precise set?
It's more or less the same. I use the same amps live as I use in the studio. I don't record with a lot of effects. I usually record my signal dry, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
And then live I use a couple of pedals only, like a chorus pedal and a wah pedal, and like a little gain booster thing for my solos. That's it, really. I use 3 pedals, so it's more or less the same setup in the studio and live. Which
you consider your major influences, and is Black Sabbath and Ozzy in between them?
Definitely, yes, for sure. I mean, I grew up with Black Sabbath. Actually, it was a defining moment for me, like a life-changing moment, actually, when I heard Master of Reality album, because I couldn't really believe how can somebody sound that heavy but so catchy as well.
Yes.
I mean, Tony Iommi is the kind of guy where it's like, you hear a riff, and you just immediately want to learn how to play that. And the cool thing about it is it's not that hard to figure it out. You can actually get to play his songs like almost right away, and that was fantastic for me, like being a young kid, like, you know, being 13 or 14 and being able to play Sweet Leaf or Paranoid and stuff, and, you know, it's a great feeling to jam to those songs. And yeah, and I mean Tony Iommi was definitely is a big influence. Later on, I got into the shredding thing. You know, after I heard Yngwie Malmsteen, that was also like a big kind of like chapter in my life. You know, learning music and stuff, and I really got into that side of that style of guitar playing. Listened to a lot of the '80s shredders like Paul Gilbert and Marty Friedman and Jason Becker and Vinnie Moore and those guys. Of course, you know, Satriani, Vai. I think I'm mainly, my main influences would be kind of like guys like I said, Yngwie Malmsteen and Gary Moore, Michael Schenker, more like European players.
Okay.
Yeah.
That European is like a compliment that you're trying to make.
I think so, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I'm European, so yeah.
Okay, yes, okay,
Yeah.
great. Concerning Firewind, last year you announced the collaboration with Kelly Sundown Carpenter
Yes.
from Darkology and X Beyond Twilight.
Mhm.
Will you confirm him as official new singer of Firewind? And did you think about calling back maybe Henning Basse, which already filled in once for Apollo
Yeah.
with a great success?
Yes,
You,
yes.
you did think about it?
Well,
or-
actually, when Apollo quit, and I had like a short list of singers of checking out some people about, because we had a tour coming up in the States, and I did think of Henning as well, but I think Henning was he was busy. He was touring with Uli Roth at that time, so he was not available, and we had to find somebody else, and so we didn't even bother going to that because I knew he was, you know, he was committed to other stuff. So and Kelly got the gig obviously, and he's been doing great ever since. And you know, right now we're kind of like, you know, we spent this year on the road. We've done a tour in America. We've done a bunch of festivals. We're going to Australia. We're not rushing to kind of like make an official announcement, but you know, he's really doing great. He's one of the best singers I ever worked with. He's fantastic on stage, and we'd really like to try and write some new material with him.
Okay.
Right now, actually, I'm. The reason why we haven't announced more plans with Firewind is because I've been working on a solo album lately. So it would be kind of like pointless to announce that, okay, here's a new singer, and then the band doesn't release anything for another 2 years, because that's what it looks like right now. We're probably gonna go on a short break because I'm gonna be busy with my solo thing next year. So yeah, I mean, when we get back to Firewind, we're definitely gonna be writing material with Kelly, and I sure hope that we can keep on, you know, working together.
Yeah. So you just anticipated my next question,
Okay.
which was about the solo
Okay.
album actually, which I heard about,
Yeah.
you know, the possibility that you were working on it.
Yes.
So it is concrete, I mean, you're
It is.
making it, and can you tell us more about it? It's like an instrumental record, or you have guests, what do you have in
Yeah,
mind?
well, it's actually, it seems like it's taken forever, this record, because I've been working on it for so long. And that's the thing, because there are a lot of guests, it takes a long time to work around other people's schedules, and I'm a very impatient guy, but this time I have really kind of like, you know, held it together, and I'm glad I did, because there's some really fantastic collaborations on this record. There's a lot of good music. I'm very excited about it. I'm working with a lot of my favorite musicians. There's going to be instrumentals. There's going to be a lot of songs with vocals as well.
Okay.
So kind of like, not half and half, I would say kind of like 70-30. 70% vocal
Okay.
and 30% instrumental.
I thought, you know.
The other one, no.
Well,
No, I'm not really, I wouldn't really want to do a full instrumental album. I think that's kind of boring. I don't know, even if I'm a guitar player.
okay.
You know, and I love playing songs with vocals on and great choruses and great melodic lines. So I'm working with a lot of good singers on this, and
Can you make any name yet?
it's hard for me to announce something because you know, there's still some stuff that's not finished, and
Okay.
I don't want to kind of like, you know, shoot myself in the foot here and it's like saying something and then it's
Alright.
not happening. So
Not even just one, which is
well, I mean, I'll tell you, I've done a song with Jeff Scott Soto,
Alright.
who is a great singer from
Sure.
from Yngwie Malmsteen
Yeah.
and Talisman and Journey, and we wrote a really good song together, and
Great.
yeah. So I've been doing a lot of work in Greece and also in Los Angeles, where we've recorded parts of it and mixing it right now.
And it's just metal, hard rock, or it's going to be a mixture of styles?
It's actually not much metal. It's more rock,
Okay.
I would say. So it's different. I mean, there would be no point for me to do another metal band or metal record. I mean, I have Firewind for that. So this is more like rock stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So with Firewind, you're not planning the new record for 2014,
No.
or not yet? Okay,
No.
so it's gonna be later than
2015 probably.
Okay.
You know, unless an Ozzy Osbourne record happens.
Of
Who
course.
knows?
Okay. So in June you released Apotheosis Live 12, which has been released, but it was recorded like 5 years ago or some.
No. It was recorded in 2012.
2012. Okay.
That's
so
why it's called
from
Live.
last. Okay.
That's why it says Live 2012.
12. Okay.
The thing is with that record is that we recorded all over Europe.
And
all over
that
Europe.
was a celebration, right, for Firewind?
Celebrated 10 years of the band.
Anniversary. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
What do you remember of that show? I mean, it was special, as you know, on the record.
Well, the
feels
record,
like that.
the record, yeah, it's a really good mood and vibe on the record. I'm glad that translated onto the record. It's a collection of recordings from different cities, from the whole tour, from our European tour, and from the 4 shows that we played in Greece to the anniversary shows. So it's a little bit of everything on there, like a mix of different tracks. Well, those 4 shows they were great. I mean, we played smaller venues back home, and we did 2 nights in our hometown in Thessaloniki and 2 nights in Athens, all sold out. It was amazing. And it was actually the last shows with Apollo. He quit right after that. It was great, man. I'll always remember that. It was a great party. It was felt like it was a full week full of partying, you know, 2 nights in Athens, 2 nights in our hometown. It was great. And
that is definitely closing a chapter.
It is, yeah. In many ways. First, because it's the final recording with Apollo and a new chapter with a new singer, and also because it's the first 10 years of the band, yes.
About 10 years ago, you announced you wanted to concentrate just on Firewind, and you left all the other bands you were part of and projects and so on, including Mystic Prophecy and Dream Evil, exactly. Any regrets on that, or do you think that this was the right decision in the perfect moment?
I will say it was the right decision at the right moment.
Okay.
I'm totally happy with where I am today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you will never get back and do any... I mean, beside Ozzy and Firewind, actually is going to take a lot of your time, but...
Yeah.
And now you have your solo album, which is going on forever. So
yes, exactly. I mean, you know, the thing is with this solo thing, you don't know where it's gonna take me. You know, it could be something that requires a lot of touring and it grows, and or it could just be like a project where I record an album every now and then, whatever. Hard to say. I mean, for me, going back to any of those bands, there's no point in doing that. You know, everybody's moved on, and I mean, I still collaborate with Night Rage. You know, whenever Marius asks me for a solo, of course I'll gladly do it. Or you know, if he ever wants to to write a song together and stuff, I'll do it. But I just cannot commit to being in another band full time. I mean, Firewind. It took me years to build that up to where it is now, and then of course Ozzy Osbourne is such a huge commitment that has to come first. You know.
Okay, talking about Ozzy, being chosen, or let's say elected, new Ozzy's guitarist, then in a sense put Firewind again in a secondary position in your career some way, and I mean, was it a hard decision for you in a sense?
In the beginning it was, because it was for many reasons. First of all, because it was the emotional part of it that I had to kind of like tell the guys in the band that, hey, we can't do much stuff for the next 2 years. But and of course it's easy to say, yeah, we're gonna get back in 2 years and we're gonna kick ass. It's different to say it than do it, you know. That caused a lot of turbulence within the band during that time. But the cool thing is that there was a strong, the friendship was strong enough that we actually stayed together, and we did get back together, and you know, we handle everything professionally, and we're still around and we're still doing it. And I think it has helped the band a lot.
Sure.
And of course, it was also a difficult decision because I didn't know. I mean, I knew what I was getting myself into, and it was a scary moment, you know, like going out there. I'm not used to replacing other people or playing, you know, like being a, you know, kind of like a sideman for somebody else. I've always had my own band or my own bands. You know, the only other time where I did that was with Arch Enemy, and that only lasted like for a couple of months, you know.
Yeah.
So, and this was a huge gig. So, so it was a lot of pressure, you know, like mostly like psychological thing. But at the same time, I was thinking that, you know, you have to have fun with this, and this is a very big chance, opportunity presented to me, and I'm not a guy who quits or you know, or kicks these kind of opportunities. You know, I take it. So I just said to myself, I'm gonna go out there and have fun. And if people throw shit at me, whatever, I'll play harder, you know.
So it's actually very different for you, the approach with Firewind and with Ozzy.
Well, of course, you know, Firewind, I'm the founder of that band, whereas in Ozzy,
And you make decisions
I
as
make
well.
decisions, and it's my own band. It's, you know, I manage the band. I run the whole thing. I'm involved in everything 200%. Whereas in Ozzy, all I have to do is show up and play guitar, which makes it much easier. You know,
Yeah.
It takes a lot of the stress away. Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
And do you want to tell us more about how it happened? I mean, was that you did an audition? You were simply called by management? How?
It was
how
an
worked?
email. It was an email from the management late at night at 3 a.m. or something, and they were like, "Well, you know, we're thinking about you for the guitar player position. Do you want to come and audition?" And I was like, "What? What happened?" Like, and then I'm like, "Yeah, fuck yeah!" And I was like, "Of course, I didn't think I would ever get the gig. I just thought that I'll just go to LA, play a few songs with Ozzy in a private room, and that'll be the coolest story that I can ever tell my friends or my kids or whatever."
Whatever will happen. I mean,
yes, I thought it would just be a very cool, surreal moment in my life, and I'm not gonna say no to that. So, but little did I know that the audition went really well, and they asked me to come back and do a gig.
Oh.
That was pretty crazy that day. You know, I didn't expect it. So.
How many days did you have to prepare the songs, and which songs were they?
I had like about 3 weeks. They were cool with it. They were not like, you have to come in then. They were like, when is it good for you? We want it to be right and everything. So I think it took me 3 weeks because I think I was leaving for a short tour at that time. And then once I got back, I started preparing like properly. So I prepared for a couple of weeks. Then I went to LA, and yeah, that's what.
Which was the first song you played with Ozzy?
Bark at the Moon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
strong one,
Yeah,
tough one.
Right. And I remember when we started playing, like when we started playing the song, he immediately like turned around and looked at me like, I was like, oh shit, and he's looking, and I just didn't, you know, I didn't even lift my eyes, just kind of like could see from the side. I just kept playing. I'm like, don't fuck it up now, just do it. Cause I think, you know, it was I was guessing, oh, okay, probably. He either really likes what he's hearing or he thinks it's total shit.
Okay. I'm sure it was the first.
Yeah, it was the first one, yeah, actually. Finally, yeah.
Okay. What's new and special about you and Ozzy together, in your opinion? What you added to Ozzy music world?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I always let the people judge that, but a lot of people have told me that it's, you know, it made the band more fresh again, and you know, just I don't know, maybe bringing that little bit of that European touch to that, to his sound, in a sense where, you know, Randy Rhoads was a very he had a very European sound, you know, involving like the classical music into heavy and hard rock stuff. So and I totally understand that kind of like where that school of guitar, so to speak, of, you know, where that's coming from, and because I grew up with all that, and I don't know, I mean, I have a lot of love and respect for everybody who's been there before. I'm a big fan of Jake Lee and Zakk Wylde and everybody. So I think people realize that I'm one of the guys, you know, I'm one of the, you know, I'm one of the dudes, you know, that really, you know, they get it, you know.
And which guy do you feel closer to? I mean, Randy, Zakk, or Jackie?
Hard to say because I got different things from each one.
Okay.
Like I have a little bit of that neoclassical European influence in the melodic parts of Randy, and at the same time I love when it comes to the 80s rock stuff, I love Jakey Lee and what he did. And then again, I'm a big Zakk Wylde fan as well, and I think you can definitely hear influences on the bluesier stuff that I do from Zakk, and I'm actually very happy that Zakk has been very supportive and he's been like a big brother to me,
Great.
So it was great jamming with him last year. We had him as a guest on the Ozzy and Friends tour. It's been great.
Yeah, cool. From the days of your trip to the USA, the first one, I guess, in 1998, if I'm correct, when you had your crucial meeting with David Chastain.
I never met David Chastain.
You never met him?
Well, I met him many years later. I met him in 2000. God, when was it? 2008 or 2009 or something?
All right.
Like we always had we emailed or
that's weird.
wrote letters to each other. We kept in touch for 15 years like that.
Okay.
And I met the guy 15 years later. I'm like, why don't you just come down to the gig and say hello? He's a very nice guy.
Okay.
He's helped me a lot.
All right, but from back then to Ozzy, all these 15 years.
Yeah.
Which ones you consider the main chapters of your career till now? If you have to pick 3.
3, huh? Wow, that's a very tough one. Definitely, I would say the signing of Firewind to Leviathan Records and David Chastain.
Sure.
Yes. Second, I'd probably say I think that a big chapter in my life was when my best friend Marios took me with him to Sweden where he was recording, and I met Fredrik Nordstrom, his producer, and me and him formed Dream Evil together, and also of course the connection with Marios leading to form Night Rage together.
Yeah.
That whole connection of kind of getting a start in the music business in Sweden where everything was on a much more professional level. That was a big chapter in my life, just the Sweden years and what I did there, the work that I did there. And of course, finally, I would say Ozzy Osbourne in 2009, yeah.
And how do you imagine yourself in the next 15 years?
Well, of course, I hope I'm still alive and healthy and making music. Being here and doing what I do now, just hopefully better.
Okay. And for the people watching which are deciding to come to your clinic, but maybe they're in doubt, you're coming in their hometown and say, well, I should go, maybe not. What would you say to invite them?
There's no reason, if there's a cool guitar clinic in your town and if you love guitar and rock and heavy metal, there's no reason why you shouldn't go.
Okay.
Whether your name is Gus G or somebody else, you should just don't miss events like that,
Okay.
Yeah.
You would go?
I would go to see him.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Okay. So thanks very much,
Thank you.
man. Thank you.
Thank you
For your time.